Thank everybody for gathering again today for the Sabbath day. The title of the lesson is going to be called Prove All Things. We're going to start with the introduction. It says, Shalom, Israel. Thank you for gathering together this Sabbath day. Today we will search the scriptures and use history to confirm that we are the people of the Bible. We will focus on the so-called Native Americans / Mexicans and blacks, so-called black African Americans and all the other black people from the transatlantic slave trade. Since the majority of our viewers come from this stock, may the Most High add a blessing to the reading of His holy word. Can y'all see from this angle? Just want to make sure. The first scripture we're gonna go to is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 21, verse 21. It's kind of long, so I'm gonna be going a little quick, but if y'all have questions, y'all know just to stop.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. Says, prove all things, hold fast that which is good.
That's the title of the lesson, Prove All Things. We say we're the Israelites, but we got to go into history to prove it. We use the scriptures as well, the Bible prophecies, but if you're a scholar, if you like to read and study history, it's been written, it's well documented. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5.
Old Testament.
Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5. Hold up, give me one more.
Book of Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth.
So the Bible is the wisdom. We're going to help get understanding as well. So we're going to use history to help us out with this understanding. So the first thing we're going to find out is why we even scattered all over the world. Why we not in our land. And we pretty much already know that, but Lamentations is going to talk about it. Lamentations chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. Lamentations in the Old Testament chapter 1. Verse 3 and 4.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 1, starting at verse 3. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen, she findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits.
So this really was talking about one of the past captivities, but we go into captivity. We went into captivity a lot of times, and we still in captivity to this day. It says Judah is going into captivity because of what?
Because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen, she findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits.
So right now we're dwelling among the heathen, and we find no rest when we're among the heathen. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. It says trouble, distress, pain. So we're going to give y'all a little more understanding with Jeremiah chapter 9, 5 through 14. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 5 through 14. This one's gonna focus on with the actual wrongs we was doing that got us kicked out the land.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 5. And they will deceive every one his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies, and weary themselves to commit iniquity.
So we were supposed to love thy neighbor, meaning our fellow brothers and sisters. But they say when we was in the land, we was deceiving our neighbors, and we wasn't speaking the truth. And the truth is what? The word of God. We was dwelling doing evil. And they taught the tongue to do what?
Speak lies.
And weary themselves to commit iniquity. What is iniquity? I just clicked on it. Sin, pretty much though, but it says commit iniquity, pervert, to trouble, to do wickedly, to do wrong. So we wasn't keeping God's laws in the land.
Verse 6. Thine habitation is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know me, saith the Lord.
So we didn't want to do what was right. He said that we refuse to know him.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will melt them and try them. For how shall I do? For how shall I do for the daughter of my people?
So he comparing us to his daughter. So he said he's gonna melt us, meaning he about to bring a hard time, his wrath upon us.
Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit.
So when you shoot an arrow back, when you shoot an arrow, does the arrow come back? It just that's how our wickedness was. We was just pure evil. We wasn't even trying to come back. We were speaking deceit.
One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he layeth his weight.
So what do you think he laying his weight mean? Exactly. He trying to deceive him. He waiting. Soon as he thinking that he got you or whatever, that you trust him, that's when he pounce up on you. That's how we was doing our own when we was in the land.
Verse 9. Shall I not visit them for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this?
So the Lord, he letting you know, you think I'm going to just let y'all do all this in the land and not, y'all not going to feel my wrath?
For the mountains will I take up a weeping and wailing, and for the habitations of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burned up, so that none can pass through them. Neither can men hear the voice of the cattle. Both the fowl of the heavens and the beast are fled. They are gone.
So he just basically saying the world, the land, the animals of the land, all of that's gonna feel his wrath because of us, because of our sin.
And I will make Jerusalem heaps and a den of dragons, and I will make the cities of Judah desolate, without an inhabitant.
So he said he was gonna destroy Jerusalem, and he's gonna make it now a den of dragons. Meaning the people are gonna be scattered, and now it's gonna be full of the Edomites. They calling them a den of dragons. He said he will make the cities of Jerusalem desolate, without an habitation. Meaning we wasn't gonna be in the land.
Verse 12.
Yeah.
Who is the wise man that may understand this? And who is he to whom the mouth of the Lord has spoken, that he may declare it? For what the land perisheth and is burned up like a wilderness, that none passeth through.
He's basically prophesying when the time comes, when the Romans or whoever else nation come into Jerusalem, because when they first come in, they destroy it, run us out, and then they take over. So they say the land gonna be burnt up like a wilderness. 13.
And the Lord said, because they have forsaken my law which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walk therein.
Read 13 for him again.
And the Lord said, because they have forsaken my law.
Who is the day that forsook the law? What you talking about?
Who is the what?
He's saying because they have forsaken my law. Meaning we, exactly. He's saying, I'm going to do all of this. I'm going to destroy Jerusalem and I'm going to give it to the dragons, meaning these other nations, because we have forsaken his law, which he set before us. And we have not what?
And have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein.
We didn't want to do what was thus say the Lord.
But have walked after the imagination of their own heart, and after Baalim, which their fathers taught them.
So y'all know the story. They were serving Baal in the wilderness, that golden calf. So he let you know, and y'all, you should remember that in Judges. When we was reading in Judges, they kept dealing with these other false gods. So they still was doing it all in the land, even in Jeremiah time. So he said they was walking after their own, doing their own thing. Do what thou wilt, the imagination of your own heart, and after Baal, which their fathers taught them. Meaning, remember, back in the days, our forefathers do what was right, didn't do what was wrong. This is Baal. This calf is called Baal. So they was doing that in the wilderness in Egypt, and they was trying to bring that foolishness in Jerusalem as well. So remember I said that, well, he said just now that Jerusalem's going to be burnt up. We're going to read, let me see if you're supposed to read that now. Yeah, look, that was 14 you just read?
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the history of when Jerusalem was seized by the Roman Empire. This is called the Siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD. Matter of fact, we're going to read one more because I think, yeah, Matthew, we're going to read Matthew chapter 24, verse 15 and 16. Matthew 24. Matthew 24, 15 through 16. So Jeremiah was prophesying of this to come. And we're going to read Matthew 24, 15 through 16.
The book of Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
So he's saying all this destruction was going to come. And he's saying they called that destruction the abomination of desolation. Spoken of Daniel the prophet. And we're going to read Daniel prophesying this anyway. Standing in the holy place. He said, then let them which that be in Judea flee into the mountains. Meaning, don't just stay there and try to fight these Romans. You better head for the hills, which was at this time considered Africa. So we're going to read the same thing, but we're going to see what Luke called it. We're going to read Luke chapter 21, verse 20 through 21. Luke going to say the same thing, but it's going to be a little different. Because Matthew called it, was that Matthew? Yeah, Matthew called it the abomination of desolation. We're going to see what Luke called it.
The book of Luke chapter 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
So he called the abomination of desolation it's some armies that's going to come through. And who those armies was? The Roman armies.
Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Meaning the destruction. Let's click on desolation. To lay waste. To come to nothing. Meaning it's going to all be destroyed. 21.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
So if you there, get out of there. If you're in the middle of Jerusalem, leave. And if you're an Israelite that's trying to come in, don't even try to come in here. Cause why? The armies, the Roman armies is coming through. We're gonna read one more thing before we read this. We're gonna read Daniel because he said, remember the prophecy of Daniel. So we're gonna read what Daniel talked about. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. Daniel predicting this destruction. Daniel's in the Old Testament, meaning he warned them. He saw the future. So they knew it was gonna come. They knew we was doing wrong, and one day the Lord was gonna send an army to be around Jerusalem to destroy it.
The book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease.
Pause for me 1 minute. So in 1 week, then in the middle of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Remember, that's when Christ died on the cross. And when he died, the veil ripped, wasn't no more animal sacrifice and no more oblations. So 70 years later, it's going to talk about this part that's coming up.
And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate.
So all these abominations, y'all know abominations means sin, right? So we started spreading all this sin in Jerusalem. Said he was going to make it desolate.
Even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
So basically, Daniel saw in a vision Jerusalem being destroyed because of all the overspreading of abominations, meaning all the wickedness and the doing whatever you want, how the other prophet just said, and serving Baal in the land. He knew that they was going to kick us out of the land. We got to run to the mountains, quote unquote, Africa, and get up out of there.
Can you put on oblation, please?
It's sacrifice, sacrificial offerings. Because remember, we was doing animal sacrifice. Whenever you commit a certain type of sin, it was a certain type of animal that we had to kill. So we're going to read the actual destruction of Jerusalem. It says the siege of Jerusalem happened in 70 AD, meaning 70 years after the death of Christ. The siege of Jerusalem in the year 70 was the decisive event of the first Jewish/Roman war. We're the Jews, the Romans are the one that came down to destroy us. That's why they call it the Jewish/Roman war. The Roman army led by the future emperor Titus with Tiberius Julius Alexander and his second in command besieged and conquered the city of Jerusalem, which had been occupied by its Jewish defenders in the year 66. So it started off in 66, but they finally overtook us in the year 70. So it was a 4-year war. The siege ended on August the 30th with the sacking of the city and the destruction of its second temple. So our biggest temple, our high holy temple, they destroyed it. The destruction of both the first and second temples is still mourned annually as the Jewish fast Tebach, the Arch of Titus, celebrating the Roman sack of Jerusalem, and the temple still stands in Rome. So they got some kind of artifact in Rome they call the Arch of Titus, and it's celebrating the Romans defeating the Jewish temple. They say that artifact still stands in Rome to this day. So y'all see the picture, they carried the menorah off. They burning up stuff. They was cutting our water supplies off. Like they surrounded us. They were trying to starve us out. So they told us, when you see the Roman army come, head to the hills, head to the mountains. Some of them stayed and tried to fight. They didn't take Daniel heed. They didn't take Luke and Matthew's heed of it. They tried to stand and fight. So some of them died, and we're going to see what else happened to them. So these are just pictures of them fighting, trying to overcome the Romans, but the Lord already told them what was going to happen. So this says the dispersion of the Jews in the Roman Empire. Some Jews were sold as slaves or transported as captives after the fall of Judea. So the ones that didn't die, what happened to them?
They were slaves.
They were sold into slavery. Some they went back to Rome, some they got sold into the other nations. But the ones that obeyed the commandment, they ran in Africa. Y'all, the northern tribe have already been gone. These are all the southern tribe, meaning the black tribe. Others joined the existing diaspora, while still others remained in Judea and began to work on the Jerusalem Talmud. So some of them, they kept staying there, but they was under the Roman Empire, and they made them work under the Romans. The Jews in the diaspora were generally accepted into the Roman Empire, but with the rise of Christianity, restrictions grew. So some of them, they went into Rome, but they had to, as they say in Rome, do as the Romans do. They wasn't able to keep the laws up in Rome. They were conquered. They had to live their life as Romans. Forced expulsions and persecutions resulted in substantial shifts in the international centers of Jewish life, to which far-flung communities often look, although not always undefined due to Jewish people's dispersion itself. Jewish communities were therefore thereby largely expelled from Judea. Judea is Jerusalem. So like they said, they were largely expelled from Judea and sent to various Roman provinces in the Middle East, Europe, or North Africa. So the ones that didn't stay, a lot of them, they expelled over to, they said, the Middle East, other countries over there, like they sold them to the Arabs. They brought them into Europe as slaves. Some of them, they made slaves in Northern Africa.
Go back up to where it's talking about the rise of Christianity.
That's on the other page?
No, right here. Where you at? Right here. So, something that I took from that, where it says the Jews in the diaspora were generally accepted into the Roman Empire, but with the rise of Christianity, restrictions grew. So what's that telling you right there? If you know that you're the Jews and you know that you're Israelites, that's what we're learning. We're proving that we are the Israelites. And it says the rise of Christianity. What's that letting you know about Christianity?
That more people were following the laws. And
not per se. I'm speaking specifically on Christianity when it says the rise of Christianity. This is the rise of Christianity. This is telling
Christianity is Sunday worship.
It's telling you that this is not our customs.
That came out.
When you hear people say, I'm a Christian, and or they believe in Christianity, they talking about this right here. This was the rise of that false doctrine that we come to know and love, that we grew up on. Sunday worship, like he said. The Romans introduced that. That wasn't our customs. The Jews wasn't doing that, because it said restrictions grew with the rise of Christianity.
And it shows where we stopped following the laws and started following the Christians.
Exactly. Christianity is nowhere in the Bible. You can't find it. So it's letting you know that this was something that they brought. The Romans brought that. Once they conquered us and they besieged us and did all of that, that's when the rise of Christianity began. So if you ever want to, if somebody ever asks you, or if you telling somebody, this is what you tell them. You say, hey, this is where Christianity actually came from. It's when they conquered us, and the restrictions grew after that. We couldn't keep our laws no more. But that's, you have to be telling them that they are the Jews. You're the Israelites. If you telling them, if they don't know their history, it confuses them. They don't know they don't even know who you talking about. They think you talking about Amalek or somebody. You know what I mean?
Romans.
They think you actually talking about Esau.
So what time frame was this? This was before Moses?
This is 70 AD.
Oh, this is way after
Yeah,
This is way. This is after
AD
Christ.
AD means after the death of Christ. So 70 years after Jesus died.
Right.
Is when we fled into Africa.
That's when it started.
They actually fled into Africa many other times too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
that's
Africa was
weird.
right next to. It was right next to each
Yeah.
other. But during this time, anytime he said flee to the mountains, because even Christ fled to was his mom Mary. They fled.
Yeah.
Mary and Joseph
They were
fled
trying to
Africa.
kill all the firstborn. I mean the babies that
Why
were
do you think
being
they
born.
always fled into Africa?
Because they could blend in.
Exactly. They could blend in over there. The Lord knew what he was doing.
Some of our
The other
people,
way, it would be
Exactly.
lighter.
some of our people from the Babylonian captivity, from the other captivities, they already moved into that. So some of our people's already in Africa, but this was the whole like big migration into Africa. It was like a great migration.
Okay, I didn't see up there where it said AD 70. So I'm thinking, I thought when Moses was in Africa, it was because they fled in there before. But then, like Philip said, it makes sense that they fled multiple times.
Every time there was some type of famine or something went down, they went into Africa, but then they would eventually come back. But this time, he kicked us completely out. Ain't no coming back. So this is just a picture of the route showing you when they went into Jerusalem, went into Africa. Some of them was already down here. They fled this way, but it was a slow migration. But the majority of them, as you can see, ended up in West Africa.
And when they do those DNA tests, it always comes back that we're from West Africa or, something like that.
Mhm.
It's very interesting.
So this is a map of West Africa. It's not the whole part, but as you can see, I wish I put the year this was. They called this part, this means kingdom. The kingdom of Judah. This word wider just means Judah as well. Slave coast, wider Judah. So this was an African map that some white people wrote, and they knew that they had Jews filled all in this portion of Africa. And it's more than just that Africa. They called it the kingdom of Judah.
Majority.
That same area today is called Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. If you see them people, we look just like the people over there. So they still got Israelites to this day that's over there. The Israelites back in the day, they used to call all Africans over there Hamites. But we still got some Israelites still over there to this day. So we gotta watch that. We gotta watch just putting a blank picture. So this is a guy named Aluda Iquiano. He wrote a good book basically explaining that his customs that he lived in when he was living in his land basically are the same Israelite customs.
Notice his name, Olauda. What it sound like?
Judah.
Sound like Judah.
What the word Uda mean? Historically called whiter, Judah. Judah by the French. So didn't I tell y'all the kingdom of whiter slave coast, kingdom of Judah? And he actually went through slavery. So we're going to read up on him a little bit. You want to read that from me?
Olauda Ikanu was born in 1745 in Igbo.
And Igbo means Hebrew. He is just a mispronunciation.
In what now is Nigeria. When he was about 11, Ikiano was kidnapped and sold to slave traders headed to the West Indies. Though he spent a brief period in the state of Virginia, much of Ikiano's time in slavery was spent serving the captains of slave ships and British Navy vessels. One of his masters, Henry Pascal, the captain of a British trading vessel, gave Ikiano the name Gustavus Vasa.
So just like they do us to this day here, man, they gave them y'all Spanish names. They gave us American names. So they gave him a different name.
Which he used throughout his life, though he published his volume 1 opens with a description of Iquiano's native African culture, including customs associated with clothing, food, and religious practices. He likens the inhabitants of Igbo to the early Jews and offers a theory that dark African skin is a result of exposure to the hot tropical climates.
So he realized that they so dark due to them staying in that part of West Africa. But the point is, he said where he from, the Nigerians, the way they life, the clothes they wear, the food they eat, their religious practice, is the same stuff that's in the Bible. He said the early Jews. So, like I said, the Auda, it just really means whiter / Judah. That's why they got that historical map. It said it's in the coast, a city in the coast of the Republic of Benin. Y'all see what Benin is, right? All that's West Africa, right by Nigeria. So we gonna go to the Ashanti people. And if y'all look up these, like African Americans, they say a lot of them got Nigerian blood. Ghana, all of these little cities, all of these West African countries. That's where a lot of us came from. So we saw what Ghana is, right? What Ghana? Ghana is right there, right by Benin. All of that is right by each other. So the Ashanti people. Read that for me, man.
Ashanti region. The Ashanti region is located in South Ghana and is third largest of 10 administrative regions, occupying a total land surface 24,389 is that kilometers?
Yeah.
Or 10.2% of the total land area of Ghana.
So that circle you see is called the Ashanti region, where the Ashanti people is. So we got to go into the Bible. The Ashanti people. The origins of the word Ashan. As Joshua chapter 15, 20 through 21. Joshua 15, 20 through 21. No, hold on. Yeah. I think it's more to that after that. Yeah, that's right.
Joshua chapter 15, verse 20. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah, according to their families, and the uttermost cities of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the coast of Edom. Southward were Kabzeel and Eder and Jagur.
So basically, I'm just letting y'all know, the people of Ashan, the land of Ashan, they said it was given into the children of Judah. And we're going to jump down to 42. Excuse me, read 41 too.
Verse 41. And Gederah, Bath Dagon, and Naamah, Makeda, 16 cities with their villages.
So these are the villages now.
Libnah, and Ether, and Ashan.
So Ashan, remember, think of the Ashantis. So we're going to read Joshua 19, verse 1 and verse 7. The people of Judah was dwelling in the land of Ashan, it said.
Joshua chapter 19, verse 1. And the second lot came forth to Simeon, even for the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families.
So Simeon We just heard Judah was standing there. Now he's saying this lot is given to Simeon. That's which is another tribe of Israelites.
And their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah.
As we read, Judah was living in there as well. So they're saying Simeon and Judah is going to be living in this particular place together. Read 7.
Ain, Ramon, and Ether, and Ashan, 4 cities and their villages.
So Simeon and Judah was living together in Ashan. We're going to read 1 Chronicles chapter 6, 57 through 59. So Judah and Simeon. 1 Chronicles chapter 6, 57 through 59.
Do you remember what tribe is Simeon?
Go to that chart.
Where you see a chart?
It was underneath, I think. If you go down some more. There you go, Levi and Simeon.
The Haitians. So we know who Judah is. Now we know who Simeon is. So we read in 1 Chronicles chapter 6, 57 through 59.
First Chronicles chapter 6, verse 57. And the sons of Aaron, they gave the cities of Judah, namely Hebron.
So who was the sons of Aaron? Aaron was a what? Aaron's brother was Moses. What was Moses? Levite. So who are the Levites, right?
The Haitians.
It's right there. You looking for Levi?
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. Go up.
Haitians. So basically the Negroes, well, we call them African Americans, but the Levites and the African Americans and the Haitians were living in Ashan together. But we're gonna keep reading down. So you stop there. Well, read the whole thing again, 57.
And the sons of Aaron, they gave the cities of Judah, namely Hebron, the city of refuge, and Libnah with her suburbs, and Jatir, and Eshtemoa with their suburbs, and Helon with her suburbs, Debir with her suburbs, and Ashan with her suburbs, and Beth Shemesh with her suburbs.
So now y'all see which people were living in Israel in the land of Ashan. But we're gonna, like I said, it's well documented. Let me read this. It's an historical fact that the mass majority of captive slaves or brought to the Americas came from West Africa. Although some were brought from East Africa, they were the minority. So the majority of the blacks came from West Africa, a few came from the East. The West African tribal nations that our forefathers were taken from have many ancient Hebrew customs in their culture. Just like the guy Aluda said. The Kafir, Bo, Grebo, Maribuk, Mavumba, Accra. Remember that word, because this guy here is gonna talk about the Accra. That you see the Accra right there. Fanti, Akin, Yoruba, Congo, and Ashanti. Just to name a few of the many sub-Saharan nations that engaged in ancient Israelite rituals. Such rituals include circumcision, the division of the tribes into 12, blood sprinkling upon their altars and doorposts, marrying of their brothers' wives after death. That's a law in the Bible if y'all ain't know it. Separation and purification after childbirth. Remember we read that we didn't even know that law. Uncleanness during birth, uncleanness during menstruation, new moon celebrations, plus many more. So it says, among the Ashanti tribe, the priesthood is hereditary to a specific family. Such a family has little or no possessions, is exempt from all taxes, supplied with food, and advises the king, just like how the Levites was in the land. We're going to skip down. The name of Ashanti, and matter of fact, we read that the people of Ashan, some of them were actual Levites, meaning the sons of Aaron. So that's why they were still keeping them particular customs. They were just migrants from the land of Ashan. The name Ashanti has Hebrew origins. The T at the ending means race of our people. So Ashanti means the people of Ashan. That's all it means. Ashanti means the people of Ashan, or the people of the Smoke City. This is a reference to the city of Ashan after the Romans destroyed it in 70 AD. Remember when 70 AD ran, they had to flee to the mountains? And I said the mountains was Africa? In a very informative book entitled Hebrewisms of West Africa by Joseph J. Williams. So if y'all want more information on it, you can pick up Hebrewisms of West Africa. He gives detailed descriptions of the Hebrew customs in many of the West African tribes. These were the tribes who were the main suppliers of slaves during the slave trade. My bad. Y'all can't see nothing. Oh, you can't use the Apple if that's on. These were the tribes who were the main suppliers of slaves during the slave trade. We're going to go to this brother video. Just watch the first minute of it. Israelites in Ghana. This is he gonna let y'all know the history. And he's a teacher in his land. He teaches the kids. Crank that up for me. Let me make sure I'm at the right time.
Ghana, and they've written book and they have a history, especially the people of here have a direct history of migration through Israel. In fact, our festivals we are going to celebrate somewhere in August.
Y'all understood what he said?
I can't understand.
We call Accra. The Adambe's.
He talking about the Accra people. Remember we just looked at that map?
Accra, but this difference is through the migration patterns they used before they arrived here in the place we call Accra. The Adambe.
He's talking about a migration pattern. When they arrived, he know that they not the original inhabitants of this land. He letting y'all know that they migrated into Accra.
All of the guns the people who speak the Dangbe speak a different dialect known as the Dangbe.
Oh.
The Dangbe is like a sister country to the Ga language.
Okay.
And they've written book and they have a history, especially the indigenous people of here have a direct history of migration through Israel. In fact,
So he's saying that the people in Ghana, the part he's in, they migrated into there from Israel. That's what he just stated.
festivals we are going to celebrate somewhere in August.
Mm-hmm.
It's celebrated known as Homo. We call it the Hutina Hanga.
Okay.
It's about some of the history of while they were migrating to this present stage they call La or Greater Accra.
Okay.
They encountered a lot of hunger.
Mm.
Once they made a walk, they transited through Nigeria all the way from Israeli-Palestine border.
So he said they migrated from Israel to Ghana. A walk.
Migrated
It's
all the way
a great
we
walk.
came to settle here. So I'm just telling you this to know how far we came
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
before we arrived here.
Okay.
So it tells you we have a huge history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the history of La, because people, I know it as Labadi.
Yeah.
And if y'all watch it on your own, he'll let you know that a lot of the people don't even know that. Like in his land. Like he's a teacher. He say he's teaching a younger kid to know how they even get to this land. So we're gonna watch one more video. The God tribe in Ghana. Because we could say it all day, but these people know this. You'd rather hear it from them, not us. 340 more. I don't know if this is going to be loud.
Of Ghana are evidence of this 3,700-year-old prophecy. We the Gans are direct descendants of the Hebrew Israelites that migrated to West Africa by way of Egypt to the Gold Coast, modern Ghana. We migrated from Israel, having been exiled by the Assyrians about the 6th century BC, through Egypt, then to...
Remember? So now he's saying that they came through 6th century BC during the Babylonian captivity, because we went into slavery many times. So he said, the other dude said it was 70 AD when he came. He's saying it was the other captivity. So some of them left during different times.
Ethiopia, where we settled in northern Ethiopia, where the Blue Nile originates. That is where the name Nai Wulumo comes from. Nai Wulumo means the high priest of the Nile.
Levite.
The Assyrians attacked us again while we were in Ethiopia. So from Ethiopia, we traveled through southern Sudan and settled in the period of time in Niger and then Nigeria.
So he said they settled in Nigeria, N-I-G-E-R, and what they call us today. They just throw extra G on it. So it was a slow migration, but they ended up in West Africa. And the white folks know where we was, so they came after us and tried to put us all in slavery. So they'll tell you where they from. So this is the historian Leos Africanus, which is a white person. When they conquered their land, they named the lands after Africa. Wasn't named Africa at one point. So Leos Africanus wrote in 1526. In Garua, there were some very rich Jews. The intervention of a preacher, Muhammad al-Magili of Telkim, set up the pillage of their goods. Pillage means they spoil their goods. And most of them have been killed by the population. This event took place during the same year when the Jews had been expelled from Spain and Sicily by the Catholic king. So remember they said when 70 AD, they took some of us to Europe, some of us was, they took into the Arab countries, some of us in North Africa. So when we was living in Spain or whatever, the Catholic king expelled some of us. This is how we was looking over there. The coats of arms in Spain. If y'all go to Europe, they got all kind of original coats of arms. They call them pubs with nothing but black faces on them, and they all got on raw stuff. So this is another good book called Israel on the Appomattox. What it is? Appomattox. Appomattox. I'm glad you said so. A Southern experiment in black freedom from the 1970s, through the 1790s through the Civil War. This is why they called it Israel on the Appomattox. This is a sign right now that you can go to Virginia and it'll have up. The free blacks they called it Israel Hill. Just to the west lies Israel Hill, settled in 1810 through 1811 by approximately 90 formerly enslaved persons who received freedom and 350 acres from Judith Randolph under the will of her husband, Richard Randolph, cousin of Thomas Jefferson. These Israelites and other free African Americans worked as farmers, craftspeople, and Appomattox River boatmen. Some labored alongside white for equal wages and defended their rights in court. The family of the early settlers, Hercules White, bought and sold real estate in Farmville and joined with white citizens to found the town's first Baptist church in 1836. Israel Hill remained a vigorous black community until the 20th century. So they called those black people Israelites. They knew they were.
And that's still there today.
Yeah, to this day. This is a sign. This is a modern sign. Look at the cars behind it.
Do we have no clue where Israelites and the signs right there?
Some of us do. Thank God for the internet, though. It's pockets of us. It's percentages of us. This book here is a book on the Native Americans. We'll touch on that when we get down to that part. So the Jews of Balal el Sudan. Where did they stay? This is all West Africa. Y'all don't see the shape of same place, Nigeria, the same, all of that. This is what you see right here. From here to there. That's West Africa. So this is called, they call this the Jews of Balad el Sudan. There wasn't no white people living there. The empire were in the 1500s. What that map is? What that other map is? It must not be on this page. They called it Negro land. What do they call us today? Negroes. This is a map. It ain't the best map. Oh, let me get a better one. They call it Negro land. It's all West Africa. That's, you see, Great Benin. We read Benin, all of that was the Israelites.
That's a mouse pad.
That's what that was. So what else? The Jews of Balad el Sudan describes West African, this is in the 1500s, West African Jewish communities who were connected to known Jewish communities from the Middle East, North Africa, or Spain and Portugal. So those Jews, those black Jews that was in Spain, they say the Catholic Church kicked out. Where did they flee? Same way, same place here in Africa. Various historical records attest to their presence at one time in Ghana, Mali, and Songhai empires, then called the Balad el Sudan from the Arabic, meaning land of the black Jews. So Balad al Sudan in Arabic means what? Land of the black Jews. The Arabs will tell you who he is, man. The white people telling us who he is. Our own people who stuck in Africa telling us who he is. We just want to say we from Africa. You got to keep going, man. We got to keep reading. Jews from Spain, we just read, we seen how we was looking at Spain. Portugal and Morocco in later years also formed communities off the east coast of Senegal. All of that's right there. And on the islands of Cape Verde. These communities continue to exist for hundreds of years, but have since disappeared due to changing social conditions, persecution, migration, and the transatlantic slave trade. So the Jews of the land of the black Jews, transatlantic slave, y'all know what a transatlantic slave was, right? Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. I think we're supposed to be reading some scripture. Yeah, so now we're about to get into the Native Americans. Deuteronomy 28, 64 through 66. It's what, as long as I thought.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So this is for us and the northern tribe. He said he's going to scatter us through the other nations, and we're going to serve gods our fathers haven't known, wood and stone. Tell them what that wood and stone is, man.
It's basically giving you the two of the biggest religions that our people are in right now. The wood will represent the wood of the cross, which is what we read earlier, Christianity. Mm-hmm. And you got the stone, which talks about the cobblestone. Who worships? Who goes and what religion is that?
Muslim.
Islam. Yeah, Muslims.
Yeah.
That's two of the most popular religions that our people are in. It's either Christianity or Islam. You don't run into too many other ones. There will be some in between.
The black stone, it is revered by Muslims as an Islamic relic, which according to Muslim traditions dates back to the time of Adam and Eve. And nowhere in the Bible talk about no black stone, Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. The stone was venerated at the Kaaba in pre-Islamic pagan times. We don't deal with paganism. They say this stone go back to paganism.
We learned all this when we was in slavery to these people. The Arabs, we was slaves under them. That's where we learned Islam from. The Roman Empire, we already read earlier, the rise of Christianity. We learned where that came from. So the Lord, man, I'm telling you, if by now you don't realize how true the Bible is, your eyes not, the Lord just ain't open your eyes yet. And we just pray that our people can get out of that. Because he prophesied this in the Old Testament, the wood and stone. And that's not the only place where it says it. It says it in many other places in the Bible talking about prophesying wood and stone. How would he know wood and stone? That goes directly to these particular religions.
365, but now I'll do it. You can explain. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
So among these nations, you're gonna find no ease. The sole of your feet will never have rest. Don't we go through that today? Every day you working day and night hard. You never seem like you never get no rest. You can't. The enemy got you working hard, man. He says, and there you'll have a trembling heart, failing of eyes, sorrow of mind. You got
depression?
Yes, you depressed, you sorrowful. You know you in slavery. You would be happy if you wasn't. If you was ruling, none of this would be, you wouldn't be dealing with these type of traits or characteristics.
Click on trembling heart.
You already know it's
timid. You know how people live and rock around your enemies. You feel like you can't even. You can't even say what you want to say half the time because you scared what the oppressor gonna say to you. You can't speak your mind. And when you're at work, you gotta watch your mouth a certain way. You can't speak a certain way because you know they looking at you already.
Trembling heart sounds like anxiety, huh?
But it's your mind.
Yeah.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
So again, these are the prophecies. This is the curses that we was gonna go through in the other nations. Our life hanging in doubt before thee. We shall fear day and night. Shall have none assurance of our life. That's pretty plain and clear right there.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening. And in the evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. Meaning when it's nighttime, you like, man, I can't wait till the morning time, like you working the night shift. And then when the morning time get here,
can't wait till the night.
Can't wait till the nighttime so I can go to sleep and get some rest. For the fear of thine heart, which is your mind, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. You ain't gonna like what you see, man. It drives you crazy, man, seeing us in this condition. If you really care about your people, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
What does Egypt mean?
Captivity.
Captivity, bondage.
With ships. By the way thereof I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And thou shalt be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
We read that verse many a times, showing us that's prophesying the slave trade right there.
The reason why we're reading it for the northern tribe is we about to find out that the Native Americans went into slavery as well. We're gonna start off. This is written in 1912 in a news book magazine called Literary Digest. Are the Indians of Hebrew origin?
Where you want to read that?
You can read it again. Just read it again. It ain't gonna be that long.
So William Penn gave the clue to many subsequent biblical scholars in declaring that he had found in the American Indians the lost tribes of Israel. The superficial resemblance between the two peoples was so striking that he was led to say, when I look at their children, I imagine myself in the Jewish quarter of London.
Because some of our people went into slavery, as we about to read that. As a matter of fact, yeah, some of them went on boats to Europe.
So The Reverend J. Wesley Anas says in Zion's Herald, Boston, it's the Boston Herald, that as late as 1889, a well-informed representative of the Muskogee tribe, when questioned concerning the legends of his people, replied, "They are all in the Old Testament."
They're trying to tell you these are the people of the book. Go to the WW1.
Okay. So, corroborative of this is the statement of Dr. W.W. Warren in his history of the Ojibwe Nation, that in response to parts of the Bible which he translated for this people, they said.
So he translated the book for the natives, and the natives said to him,
"The book must be true, for our ancestors have told us the same stories for generations."
They had oral history back then, the natives.
I'm sorry. What do you want?
They affirmed.
Okay, so they affirmed that after the captivity, the Hebrews resolved to separate themselves from the heathen and to seek a spot where they might religiously observe the law, for the violation of which they had been so severely punished.
So we're going to read that in scripture, where the northern tribe wanted to separate themselves because they just got out of captivity. And they say they want to go to a land,
spot where they might religiously observe the law.
So if y'all got the Apocrypha, second Ezra. Second Ezra chapter 13, 40 through 45. Through 45. I'll read that. You can smile. So let's read that again, what he just said. So we can know exactly what we read. They affirmed that after the captivity, the Hebrews resolved to separate themselves from the heathen and to seek a spot where they might religiously observe the law, for the violation of which they had been so severely punished, meaning they just got out of slavery. Accordingly, he reports them to have migrated to a country which was uninhabited, and so far a distance they journeyed for a year and a half or even more.
Keep that in mind.
So, these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Uzziah the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathens and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwell.
Sound familiar, right? We just read that. They just said the same thing. So that the they that took counsel among themselves is who? Israelites.
But
who specifically are the Israelites?
The Native Americans.
The other 10 tribes.
Oh, so it's all
The northern kingdom.
See, it said these are the 10 tribes. So they said they're going to a country that never mankind dwell. 42. That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Go back to that other verse. Go back to that spot. He said that they keep not the it said that so they could observe the law, for the violation of which they had been so severely punished. Because the reason they was in captivity was because of what?
They didn't keep the law.
They didn't keep the law. So now they want to go to a spot where they can keep the law. Go back to the...
This is 1912.
So he said that they there in this new land where they want to go will keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Oh no, I was telling my mom something.
So y'all see that, right? Y'all see the parallel. They're saying the exact same thing. They knew why they went into captivity was because they broke the law. So they said, all right, now we want to get out from under the heathen and go to another land so we can keep our laws there. Because you think they was letting them keep all their laws there? They were like, man, we want to keep our own laws in our own land. Which is what we should want to do. We should want to go back to our own land and keep our own laws. That way you ain't got to worry about the heathen being over you. So they had a little sense to know that I don't want to be up under the heathen for the rest of my life.
You're right. 43. And they entered into the Euphrates, which is a river, by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. Where else he did that at? He held the water so we could pass over. Exactly. So just how he was with us back then, he was with the Native Americans, guiding them over here, holding the water for them. And that's what's going to happen to some of us, man. Remember they're going to have them rivers, them 7 rivers, highways. 45. For though that country, there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
Go back to it. How long he said it was?
A year and a half.
Accordingly, he reports them to have migrated to a country which was uninhabited and so far distant that they journeyed for a year and a half or even more.
That's crazy.
It's matching up with the Bible, right? So, come on now, prove all things. It's the name of the lesson.
And the Apocrypha.
And this is the Apocrypha that they
The
claim
hidden books.
that they took out.
And you see why.
But they knew this because they had passed it down from generation to generation.
He said the same stories that they had been told for generations, it matched up with what the book was saying.
So he pulling out the Bible.
They're like, wow, that is us. That did happen to us. Just like when
They
we
told
started.
us we came. Just how the southern tribes said they family told us how we got from Africa into here. The destruction of 70 AD. The Assyrian captivity. And this region is called Azareth.
Look that up.
So they said this land that never mankind dwelt.
Because remember, America wasn't called what America is, so you have to match these things up. This is why you got to go into history.
We looking up Azareth, right? You see it right there.
This is letting you know how Columbus got over here.
Columbus identified America with this land. The Americas.
And it says the name of the land beyond the great river, and it said how he held the river for him.
Where's
On the top line. Far away from the habitation of man.
Far away from the habitation of man. Remember, this land was uninhabited. The land where never mankind dwelt.
He says in
This-
the 10 tribes of Israel.
So Columbus had the Apocrypha. He knew that they had a land over there that they can go conquer, and the 10 tribes went and ran over there to get them. So he tried to follow the same way. He went through the Euphrates rivers and all that.
He knew it was a people over there.
He studied the Bible.
There's a movie about that too. I don't know the name of the movie, but they bring that up, showing how we got the Book of the Jews and they read it. Yeah.
That was in the Jewish Encyclopedia, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look up what? Azure? What was it?
Azareth. You gotta look up the word Azareth, because that's what it was called in the Bible.
And
they
then
got
Columbus
out.
came over and just named it America.
That's how they remember. They named the lands after themselves.
The Americas.
America Vespucci.
Vespucci. Yeah. Yeah, this is it right here.
The name of the movie is called what? 1492, Conquest to Paradise, the movie. How Christopher Columbus found a new world.
Why did you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent, the journey takes a year, or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians.
The journey.
There is a third way.
Hold on, this is it, third way.
By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
See, they didn't know what was. He like, man, it's infinite. Like,
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 700.
that's why they called y'all what?
Indians. He thought he was an
Indies
Indian.
west of the Canary Islands.
Did you be so certain?
The map stopped. He don't even show nothing past that. But he like, man, I'm telling you, it's right there, and I know how far.
The calculations of Tuscany, morality,
Esdras, is it true?
so what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less.
He said dead man, but they
The man you're about to confront. Well,
see. He said Ezra.
He said Ezra's the Jew.
He said you're a dead. He said a dead man. He said they burning people for less, meaning they burning people for even talking about Ezra. They like to hide this knowledge from us. So
What'd you look up to get that movie?
I just type. Let me type it again. Columbus. Jew movie. Jew.
It's called 1942 Conquest to Paradise. That's the name of the movie. I mean, 1492.
Quest of Paradise.
Oh, Quest. Okay, it was Conquest. Oh. Go to your history.
Columbus. Ezra. Yeah, just type in Columbus Ezra. So remember, we just read the Deuteronomy. Everybody just automatically associate that. This is American Indians of slaves. The Spanish involvement, and Columbus was Spanish, in the American Indian slave trade started very early. On his second expedition to the Americas in 1493, Christopher Columbus enslaved over 500 Native Americans and sent them to Spain. In addition to the search for gold and other riches, slavery at this time was a major Spanish objective in the New World. In 1495, the Spanish, under the leadership of Columbus, rounded up 1,500 Arawak, which are Indians. They selected 500 to be exported to Spain as slaves, 500 to serve as slaves to the Spanish on the island, and the remaining were released. So 500 went to Spain, 500 went to Spain as slaves, 500 stayed on the island to be slaves, and the other 500 they let go. Columbus proudly boasted to the Spanish monarchs about the slave potential and its economic benefits. Columbus captured and exported more Indian slaves, about 5,000. They got other books that tell you that he didn't have enough money to fund because the queen didn't want to back him. So he didn't have enough money to keep this journey going. So he started rounding up Native Americans and started selling them to other country members, like the Arabs and the other Europeans, so he can have more money to keep this mission going. It ain't written here, but that's in other. You can do your own research and it'll say that. So it says Columbus captured and exported more Indian slaves, about 5,000, than any other single individual. On the other hand, Spanish Queen Isabella opposed slavery and returned many slaves to the Caribbean. In addition to capturing the Indians as slaves, the Spanish also hunted the Indians for sport and slaughtered them for dog food. So and no white people to this day do what? They love they dog more than they love us, right? Columbus legacy. And they wasn't feeding those grown-ups. They were taking our babies. The Native American little babies and feeding them as dog food. Columbus' legacy in Haiti is an example of 15th century genocide and slavery.
But we want to celebrate Columbus Day, though.
Man, they make him all up. Man, if we can go in a time machine and see how George Washington and all these people, Columbus is the mass murderer, man. A maniac.
Original Hitler.
It's dog food, man. Check this book out. Views of the Hebrews or the Tribes of Israel in America.
$2,000.
Book, you want it right now, it's gonna cost you $2,000.
They're trying to keep it from you.
Came out in 1825. You want to hide anything, they say you do what? Put it in a book. No telling what they know about us in this book. You start crying, you find out your true heritage, man. $2,000. This is another book. Jews in America, or the probabilities that the Americans are of that race. When I say it ain't one or two books, y'all, it's thousands of these type of books. They love reading and finding out who you is.
We're just not reading it.
They gave you the name Indian because he thought he was going to the Indies. They gave you the name Spanish because they came from Spain. And you under their persecution. And to this day, they ain't taking pride in being called Spanish or American. Nah, man, you an Israelite.
Read the Mexico.
The name of Mexico.
Oh, yeah, this is what we were talking about.
I don't even know how we got to this. You made me get on this journey.
Yeah, I showed you.
You was like, man, I heard. You tell it. You was watching the Israelite video. You like, man.
I forgot. I can't remember, but it says something means Hebrew means Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico is a Hebrew name. You say, but I can't find it nowhere. No, like I can't find no link on.
Yeah, it was just a meme. That was it. And I was like,
yes.
I have to research this, and I kept looking I couldn't find it.
So I typed in name. Well, it wasn't that easy, but I eventually just went to Mexico in Wikipedia. Look what I'm about to find out. According to Torah Quimada, the first missionaries, in order to write the Aztec tongue that we call Mexican, were in agreement with the West Indians created, wisest Indians created in the school of Santiago Tilacalo, and their pronunciation has two Hebrew letters, Sade and Sin. They substituted them in their writing by approximating the first with TZ and the second with a soft X. But the majority of the conquistadors, being from Extremadura or Andalusia or Arab, in their pronunciation strongly pronounced all of the X's written by the missionaries. Because of this, the Spaniards said Mexico. Mexico. Even though the Indians invariably pronounced it Mexico with the Hebrew letter Sin. Mexico with a soft X, like the Indians pronounced it, mean where Christ is worshipped. And thus the term Mexicans is the same as Christians. This is the name of Mexico in Wikipedia, y'all. look, man, we in the last days, bro.
It is a Hebrew word that means taking it from Latin.
And messy, I-ax means what? As the Indians pronounced it, it is a Hebrew word that means taken from the Latin "iunctus," what we call anointed. Taken from the Greek Christus, what we call Christ. And it is taken from the Hebrew messy, what we call Messiah.
That's what it was. They said messy means
Messiah.
Messiah.
So all of this means either what Christ is worshiped, the same as Christians, anointed, or the word Messiah. Corpus Christi is Latin for body of Christ. Corpse, body. Christi means Christ. Y'all know.
I'm from there and I've never heard that.
I'll be.
Made me research now. Like, where are you from?
Yeah, every time, because I'll tell her, oh, like, yeah, I'm 30 minutes from Corpus, and that's all he does. Corpus, never heard of it. Let me pick, and he'll learn the whole thing.
I mean, if I was Mexican right now, I would fall out, man. I'd hit the floor, man. So you telling me that?
And that's crazy because I grew up with nothing but Mexican.
He's saying so the white people mistranslated it, but the natives were saying that they'll make sure they kept the Hebrew tongue when they sang. They knew what it meant.
And how did the native people pronounce it?
Mexico.
They ain't do it with the
They did Mexico,
silent.
but then the Hebrew said Mexico.
Yeah, they said Mexico. Mexico.
I never heard of Mexico. I heard of Mexico.
Mexico is the way the white people
Yeah,
say.
that's the way Spanish.
The white people made sure y'all didn't say it with the Hebrew tongue.
That makes sense.
I've heard the other way from like my friends' grandparents that came from Mexico that didn't speak any English.
Because they do it too. The Spanish that I worked with, they say, in Mexico, they say that.
Yeah, real quick.
They quick to say, nah, it's Mexico. It's Mexico.
But now you can point them to their origin. So the last one, 1 Chronicles chapter 12, 32. You're gonna learn something today.
I see why it took you so long.
I almost gave up, man.
He worked on this lesson for a long
I
time.
was tired last night. I was like, I woke up this morning, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. First Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32.
1 Chronicles 12, verse 32.
Nah, we not take time.
Is it in the Old or New Testament?
Old Testament.
Old Testament.
Right after 1st and 2nd Kings.
I was singing the song in my head.
So 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. And the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment.
So the Issachars, what we call the modern day Mexicans, they understood the understanding of the times. One understanding we read that, hey, it was, let's get from around the heathen so we can worship God in our own land. And actual time.
Is this the Mexicans or the Indians? Or both?
The Mexicans, but they all, the 10 tribes came together. He's specifically talking about Issachar.
Which is the Mexicans. So-called Mexicans.
So Aztec temple, sundial. A sundial is the original clock, pretty much. That's what these guys specialize in. It says, not only does the sun give us warmth and help plants grow, it can also be used to tell time. Remember the sun and the moon. The moon is the monthly clock. The sun is the daily clock. It can also be where the moon can help with the day's 24-hour period as well. But if you study the moon, you can do a whole monthly calendar with it. So it says, not only does the sun give us warmth and help plants grow, it can also be used to tell time. Help your child make a sundial that really works. The Aztecs were brilliant people that taught us much of what we know about the earth and the world around us. Your child can create a working sundial along with learning more about the life of Aztec. So this was a picture of a sundial in Mexico City. This is how it worked. It's basically follow the sun, how does it go down. It's just like a clock. In the middle of a clock, they had the thing in the middle, but we have hands on it. But that thing there would just turn around. And this is actually
That's an Aztec calendar.
Yeah, a calendar with the day, the month, the year, with everything on it.
I used to have that.
You gotta click on it and read it your own self about the sunstone. But they found all throughout Mexico and South America, Central America.
So would that sit in the sun too, like the sundial and where the sun plays?
Yeah, and it's stone as well. Like they'll have some, it's their way of keeping up with the time.
That's like, those little things mean something, like the little,
Yeah.
like the little like points that means like a month.
This would be like the day.
Yeah.
I mean the hour of the day, the day of the week, the year, and they would just turn it by however it need to go.
I think
it was somebody's job.
2012 when they said the world was gonna end, it's because that calendar stops.
Yeah, that Mayan. Remember that Mayan calendar thing? But that was just, they was just keeping up when, I guess when the Israelites would start waking up. They thought it was just gonna be the end of the world. No, it's the end of the world as y'all know it, not the end of the world.
It's pretty cool.
But when I had that cartoon, The Mysterious Cities of Gold, they had all of that in there, man. Now Apple took it away from me. I gotta buy it all over again. Something I already paid for. Just delete it off my phone.
It's called Mysterious Cities of Gold.
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
It's hard to find though.
Oh look, you can find it.
Well, we can find a
You
little.
can pray on it.
Oh, you can find it. You just gotta buy it.
No, it's like $40 for the box set. And it's based off Israelites. I went crazy when
When you found it again.
Yeah, I used to watch it. It came out in '82. As a kid, it was like one of my favorite. This dude is really from the southern tribe. They from the northern tribe. This dude named Esteban. Well,
Characters.
he joined the Spaniards in their search for the 7 cities of gold in the New World, hoping to find his father. This is a real person. They got him from Africa because he knew about the New World, and the Spaniards used him to get into the New World. The Zia, the daughter of an Incan high priest, she was kidnapped from Peru 5 years ago by the Spanish invaders and given as a present to the Queen of Spain. Remember that Take Us in? We just read how they took the natives and brought them to Spain. They made a cartoon about this, man. And they made the white people evil on this cartoon, Mendoza, a Spanish navigator. It's crazy, man. Let me see what they tell you. Yeah, look. This is crazy. This the same dude from the cartoon. Was one of the first Native Africans to reach the present-day continent, United States. Enslaved as a youth by the Portuguese, he was sold to the Spanish. I'm gonna find the cartoon.
So they made a cartoon based on this character? And
Those 3 kids.
Yeah, the cartoon is good.
Should have it.
It said Austin, Texas.
Cause they used to have a cartoon. Look, the character Esteban from the film The Mysterious Cities of Gold believed to be loosely based on the story of Estevanico. And at the end of every cartoon, they'll show you real. Remember I showed y'all that a long time? They'll show you real information of the the Aztecs and the Mayans and all of that. They showed the sundials and all that. Cartoons are different in the 80s. Like remember at the end you would learn something at the end of the cartoon. They'll take 5 minutes and show you some real stuff. They call him a Moor. And this is how he really looked. But as you can see in the cartoon, they made him look like this. Throw you off a little bit. And look how white they made the Mexicans, or the Mayans or whatever. Good cartoon. It was on Nickelodeon back in the day. But that's it, y'all. I want to thank everybody for coming out. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of His holy word. Shalom.